I had to make a tiny chicken bestie for my little duck. So here it is, and here is how you add it. So here's mapping out where I'm going to pull up my loops. I'm going to put my fingers into each of these holes to show you just how far apart these are. They're not very far apart at all. Only one down, one over, So screenshot that so you can really see where we're going to pull up these loops. And I do this first so that I don't get lost. So pull up your loops at the bottom first. I turned to that because my little tail end was kind of going the wrong way. I want to just go the other way. So we're pulling up loops all the way around the outside first because that one inside little hole that I did not put a marker in, I'm still going to pull up a loop in there. So we're going to go around the outside first. It's kind of hard to tell where the outside is, but just the very outside markers here. And make all your loops 2 fingers wide, just like this. And come down right here. And then we're going to go to that one that I did not mark right to the inside. And that's the only one that's not marked is the one that is on the very, very inside of that chick. And then this little part it ends up being the little tail. So it's hard to tell what this is right now, but start at the bottom and go all the way around to secure these stitches. So you're going to take that second loop through the first, and I kind of pull on that bottom of the first loop to make it not see-through. And then just keep going around the outside. That next loop goes through the loop that's before it, and then come down and down again, right into that middle. And what will be even cooler is if you use that really fluffy yarn. I think it's Threads and Loops has a really cute yellow, really fluffy yarn. It is a little hard to work with, but it would make a really fluffy chickie. So this end little loop right here, we're going to cut our working yarn if you haven't already, and then pull that loop all the way through because we don't want that to be like that big long tail because these little chicks are tiny chicks and they don't have their tails yet. So we're going to put the tail end right back through that hole that we pulled it out of, and then that secures that loop on the back end and kind of makes it look like it has 3 little tail feathers, just a little bit. So this shape it looks a little weird, right? But once we get the beak on there and then the little feet and the eye, it all comes together. So take about 6 inches of that beak color. This is Butterscotch Medallion by Yarn Beat out of Hobby Lobby. And put it right beside where the head comes in. And it's in those first 2 loops of the stitches up top. And then um, it's supposed to be really small, so just make it kind of tight to the blanket. And if you want, and you don't want to do the tiny legs, you can do 2 little legs just like this with chunky yarn, and you can put them wherever you would like. If you want it to look like it's running or just standing there, just be sure to pull up the loop or the yarn right underneath that ducky, and it's really right in the loop where the yellow is. So you can make it just like this and then put the eyeball on. Or you can take this yarn that is a size 6 blanket yarn. This is Bernat blanket size 6. Make a little loop about 6 to 8 inches in from the tail end. And then you're going to tie a knot so that that loop stays there. And that's a little big of a loop, so kind of make it a little bit smaller here. And I'll show you what we're doing with these little feet. It's a little complicated. That's why I gave you the other option of the legs. So make a knot, so double knot this so that you have that loop and it's not a slip knot, so that you have that loop at the end or like in the middle right here. But you want some of that tail end on there. And then what you're going to do is make another loop right beside it, kind of like this. And if you have a better way of doing this, seriously, let me know. Because I was like, how am I going to figure this out? You're going to want to make a knot in this one as well so that it stays right next to that other loop. We're basically making 3 little uh, toes, but we're making 4, but we're going to cut one off. So tie a knot in this so that that loop is right next to that other loop. And I'm going to tie it around one more time just because I did one and need another so it stays just like this. And pull it pretty tight so it doesn't move. And then this is what we're going to do. Just making sure there's two loops, they're tied tight. I have a tail end and I have another tail end. So you don't want these ones in there. Just pull them out. I haven't secured anything on the back yet. So you haven't missed that part, I promise. And then what you'll do is stuff one side into right underneath where that other leg was. Just like this, and pull it in the back. And those little loops you're going to want to have come out of the bottom part right here, just like this, so that we can cut this and make it into some little feet. And I'll show you what I'm doing. I'm just getting those loops. So I'm going to cut those loops right at the loop part, if that's a word. So cut them so that they're kind of like coming down like this. And we know that their toes are not that long. Well, they kind of are, but they're not that long. And there's only 3 here, so we're going to cut one off. And it's okay because you knotted it. And it comes down just like this. And then what we'll do is we'll cut the toes. Ah, just like this. So that there's these little toes sticking off just like that. And if you have some orange yarn, that's the blanket yarn, even better. I just didn't have any. And then I'm kind of trimming them. They were a little weird. Weird toes. So you'll do the same thing with the next foot. And I already had it tied, so I'm just going to put it in right here. And we do the same kind of thing. We're going to put it right through here, and I'm putting the whole thing through since I already had it kind of done. And bring one part through, bring the other part down below, and just make sure the toes are at the bottom of the loop there, just like that. Then when we turn it over, this is kind of our mess that we have back here, but you will tie your 2 ends together for your little feet right here, and then tie them together again for your feet on the other side. So I kind of sped that up because we're just double knotting there. Make sure your little toes are still at the bottom on the front. And then you can cut your yarn almost right next to the knot and it stays really well. Then what we'll do for all of these up here, this is our beak, so we're just going to cut it close and then we're going to fuse it together. Cut this pretty close because those tail ends can come together, and then we will fuse them. Some of these are a bit close, so just try not to burn your fingers. And this is kind of what it looks like on the back. Then we want to add an eyeball. You can or you don't have to, but take some of your blanket yarn and tie a knot right in the middle of about a 10-inch piece, just like this. And it doesn't have to be real tight, just tight enough to hold. And then take your darning needle or any kind of needle that you can get this size 6 into to push it through. You can even push it through with your finger, but it's just a little bit easier with the needle. Push it through where you believe the eye should be. I did it right above the beak and in basically one thread of yarn. And then I took the needle out on the back, and the way that you do this is that's just the way that I do it, is I put it between my fingers and then I move it back and forth and it goes right in there. And then you'll want to put it down, not in the same hole because it'll just pop right out, but down a little bit or up a little bit to where it can hang on to some of the threads on the front and not disappear into the little chickie. And on the back here, we just tie that and make a double knot, and then we can cut the ends, and we can cut it pretty close. I think I triple knot this one just in case, and then cut it super close, and you are finished with your little chickie. Here's the tiny chickie and his rubber ducky bestie up there, so you can kind of see the difference.